All right, there we go. Welcome back, everybody, for another Wellbeing Wednesday. This is the monthly segment where we show childcare providers and caregivers like you simple ways to support your own well-being, because taking care of ourselves is, in fact, taking care of others. I'm your host, Susanna Creed, with Be Well Care Well Arkansas, a Curricula Concepts program that's all about supporting the health and wellness of our childcare providers. So if you have tuned in with us before, you know that we always have a monthly theme. And with Thanksgiving this month, we thought it would be particularly appropriate to focus on gratitude and challenge ourselves, not just to practice gratitude, but to also illustrate through our timing today that gratitude doesn't have to take a lot of time. We will be having a slightly shorter segment today, so we're going to go from 12:30 to 12:50, and that's in part because we want to show you again it doesn't have to take up a ton of time. It can actually take way less time than we even think to practice gratitude and to find ways to incorporate it and get something out of it even in a shorter amount of time. So I'm really excited because we have Samantha Jerry with us today, who wrote and self-published her book Resolve, in which she takes a look at the circumstances surrounding trauma and the resolve, effort, and insight it takes to heal along the way. And gratitude has been a large part of that healing process for her. So thank you for joining us today, Samantha. It's been really great to just kind of talk to you before this, and I'm so excited to have you on today with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm thankful to be here.
There we go. Let's just start it off from the beginning, right? um, so we're going to get right into it today, and we're going to see how much we can pack into a short amount of time. And I'm fully confident that we're going to walk away with a ton of great ideas and tips and tricks from our conversation. So just kind of getting down to it, I wonder, what are some of the small ways that we as everyday human beings can start incorporating gratitude into our lives? Because a lot of times we think it has to be a really long thing, otherwise it won't work. But maybe what are some of the ways that you've either found through your experiences or through even writing the book and in your own, gratitude practice? What are those small ways that seem to work for you?
Absolutely. I think sometimes the misconception is we have to have the perfect journal and the perfect pen and the perfect time to sit down and to collect our thoughts and write them out. But it doesn't have to be that way. Just like you're saying, we can just do it and incorporate it. And like we were saying earlier when we were visiting, it is definitely a practice. And the reason it's practice is because sometimes we show up late for practice and sometimes we skip a practice. And, just like in life, that
I never even thought about that.
Yeah, exactly. But we have to have grace with with ourselves and give ourselves permission to mess up, because we're human and we're just having this experience in life. But I think we would be surprised to learn that we're more thankful maybe than what we give ourselves credit for. A lot of times I know I'll jump in the shower and I'll just say, I'm so thankful for warm water. Or I pull up a cover and I'll say, I'm so thankful for this blanket, the comfort of this blanket. It's just that simple to realize that we are thankful. One of the ways that I began incorporating gratitude into my life was realizing to be content, I didn't need to take things for granted. And I'm a very I love you person. I will tell strangers I love you. And it comes from a pure place for sure. But I realized one day I didn't want to take advantage of people and their love reciprocated. And so instead of saying, I love you now, especially with my husband, instead of saying, I love you, I'll say, I really appreciate that every Monday night, you never have to be reminded to take the trash out so that I don't have to do it. You know what I'm saying? Or I'll say, I really appreciate that when the car pulls in the driveway, you come out to help carry the groceries in. So instead of saying, I love you, I just replace it with something that I'm thankful for or that I appreciate, which is the same thing, appreciation, value. And so I think that in our everyday lives, when we come across people, if I'm in a store, because life is so stressful right now and we're all here. And and so if someone takes the time to actually take me to aisle 45 and show me where something is, I'll say thank you. And then I say, I appreciate your effort. And just, you don't know what that's doing for that person, because a lot of times, especially out in childcare workers, healthcare workers, just life in general, we don't feel appreciated. And when we don't feel appreciated, that's where resentment, the germ, the seed of resentment comes from, is because we don't feel appreciated. We don't feel seen. We don't feel heard. And so just turning to someone and saying, gosh, I appreciate you staying 10 minutes after today, or I appreciate, or I loved the way, you explained that to that child. It took 5 seconds to say that, but what washes over the recipient could change a week. It could change a day. It could change an hour, but it took that long to do that. And so I think just in your everyday life, it doesn't take any extra effort, of just being mindful of what's going on in your environment and being appreciative for that thing. So maybe just switching out I love you for I appreciate, or just acknowledging other people because you would want to be acknowledged. So it's that whole thing, to have a friend, you have to be a friend. To be grateful, to have gratitude, you have to be grateful, kind of thing. And I also believe that we're all grateful, but sometimes we're grateful for the wrong thing. So being mindful of that, because how many times, have maybe the kids taken too long to come in from recess, or too long to get their backpacks together, or whatever the situation may be. And then all of a sudden you think, oh, great, now we're 15 minutes behind, or, oh, great. So you're still voicing some sort of gratitude, but it's kind of focused more on a negative thing. And so maybe instead of, oh, great, now we're running late, it's, I'm glad that I took that extra time with those kids to show them patience, or to show them, it's just a lens. I believe that gratitude is a lens that we see the world. And I think, as we talked about earlier, but whether it's fortunately or unfortunately, we are the ones that can correct that lens to see how we see things. Because once we see something, it's just like, if you buy a white Honda, you've heard this.
Oh my gosh, we've all had this.
Then the next thing you know, that's all you see are white Hondas, and so once you say something, then the next thing you know, you start to notice that around you. And I believe it's the same thing. It's the same way with gratitude. If you start to notice, gosh, everybody's been really helpful today. It's almost like your brain makes a hypothesis and then tries to prove it. And so you start to recognize all the helpful people, or instead of all the bitter, angry people. But those are just a few ways that I think doesn't really take a lot of time, and we can all incorporate, into our lives and into our just into our days in general.
That's awesome. There's so many great nuggets in there. And because I'm a verbal processor, and I always get a ton out of this. And just because I like to make sure that I've also, captured in my brain correctly what you were saying. So a couple of the things that I heard were, it doesn't have to be the perfect time, the perfect pen, the perfect journal. For my own sanity, if anybody watching this has that, please put it in the comments, or just send me a message. I just want to know I'm not alone in looking for the perfect journal and the perfect pen. I'm like, it has to have the exact right lines. It's a whole thing, but that it doesn't have to be all those perfect things before I start. So that's one of the things. And then you mentioned as well, oh my gosh, my brain just completely went blank. I hate when that happens. The focusing on, instead of the broad categories, like when I've done gratitude work with people, I've heard a lot, well, what are you grateful for? My family, my kids, my grandkids. And that is great. And that there's nothing wrong or less than with that. It's just a way to make that really hit home and kind of help us internalize it. Because it's like you said, the practice of gratitude is a practice of shifting where our focus is. So instead of focusing on something broad, let's get as mindful and present about it and say, I love my kids because they help remind me to laugh.
Yes.
I love my family because I feel genuinely unconditionally loved by them. I appreciate my dog because my dog always makes me feel better at the end of a rough day when they snuggle with me, because I have a snuggle bug of a dog, So it's like really getting specific. So it's not even adding anything, because I know it's a lot of like, okay, do I have time for this? Do I have time for that? But it's like, if I'm going to say I love you to my partner, say, hey, I love the fact that you know to make me breakfast when I am stressed, and I'm not going to have time, and you've already made breakfast and I don't have to ask you. Like that type of specificity can start to shift things for sure.
Yes.
And just, so those are a couple of the things that I heard. And I wondered too, especially because you've been doing this for a while, like it sounds like you've really been in your gratitude practice. How do you keep it up over time? What helps you to keep going? Whether that's, I don't feel like it today. I just don't feel grateful. I don't feel good, and I'm not seeing the good. And even if I say it, it feels like it's just words. And also, those times when it's like we start off really strong, January, New Year's goals.
Yes.
Okay, we have our New Year's and we're good for January, and then we're pretty good for February. But then by March, April, we're tapering off. So for someone who continuously practices this so much in their lives,
Yes.
what helps you keep it up through those and be consistent about it?
Absolutely. Because that's real. And this, like we were saying, this is real life. And, there are so many times I lay my head down at night and I literally say, I'm so thankful this day is over and I get to go to bed and wake up tomorrow and try again. And that is sincere gratitude, but it's also real. And so, but what usually happens is when I voice it, because how many times have you stewed on something, and then as soon as you say, oh my goodness, then the answer appears, or the resolution comes, or that person calls and says, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I forgot you. Or it's almost like we voice it and let it go. And a lot of times that happens with gratitude. I'll say something like, I'm so thankful this day is over because I get to go to bed and try again. And then it's like, oh, and I'm so thankful that these sheets are, it's clean sheet day. We have a happy dance clean sheet day, and just little things like that. You can be silly with it because that's real, and like you were saying about your dog, I'm so thankful that I say my dog never thinks my ideas are bad, and always says go for it, a little thing, and then the next thing I'm thinking about something else. And so I think just voicing things and letting them go then allows, it's like it takes that obstacle out of the way. Another thing that I do is I don't always do it the same way, because that's not real life either. So there are times I keep a Post-it pad with me, and I'll write little things down throughout the week. Or sometimes I'll do M and 2 stars, and a T for Tuesday and maybe 1 star. And then at the end of the week, I look back and I see, oh, I'm thankful I had a 2-star week, or I had, 4 days that were 4 stars and 3 days. I don't know, come up with whatever works for you. Because not doing the same thing, then we don't go on autopilot. We don't just do muscle memory, because that's not being present, nor is it being sincere. And so if you're having a really hectic week, then put it in your phone if you need to, or just be thankful for one thing. Or I love that people pay it forward, like in the line at different places or whatever. Maybe leave a post-it somewhere that just says, whoever finds this, I hope you have the best day. So even acts of kindness can bring on gratitude, but changing it up. And not only that, to be completely honest, my husband has been diagnosed twice with cancer in the last 8 years. I'm the survivor of a sibling suicide. Mental illness is in my family, and it's a daily thing. I myself have struggled, when I was trying to heal through a lot of stuff. I've dealt with depression or days I didn't even get out of bed. And I've seen the darkness, and I've lived and bathed in the darkness, and I'll never go there again. And so if practicing gratitude in silly ways or small, what may seem insignificant ways, keeps me here instead of here, then I'll do it. And I think a lot of your participants, and I think a lot of your child care workers, they see children that exhibit trauma, that they go home to at night, or just sadness. Right now there's stress, and kids feel that. And so, I just think that even if, as the child care worker, if you can just pick up a few things, because you're showing those children how to get through these times. You're showing those children how to be self-sufficient and how to be self-soothing. We talk about babies in their cribs and how to be self-soothing. I do skin-to-skin contact with myself. I hold my own hands sometimes when I'm feeling anxious. And then as my body starts to regulate, then it's kind of like, I'm so thankful I remembered to do that. And there I've had gratitude,
Yeah.
But
so many good things.
Sorry.
No.
Excited, and I just think we make it harder than it has to be. And especially as women, I'm sure I'm making an assumption that you have more women than, maybe men in childcare. And I think as women, it's easy. We always put ourselves down here, and we're last, or I'll get to that in a minute, or, and then, like I said, there's that little germ of resentment because we don't feel seen, we don't feel heard, we don't feel appreciated. And I just think appreciating each other is a form of gratitude, and you can't be resentful when you're appreciative. Just like they say, you can't be mad if you're laughing.
Yeah, laughter.
Yes, you can't be resentful if you're thankful.
Yeah,
because
I love that.
In another one little more thing, I know you've got to finish, but one more little thing is that being grateful and practicing gratitude doesn't change your situation, nor do I want anyone to think that this is going to change your situation. Your situation is what your situation is. That cancer diagnosis is a cancer diagnosis. But you can also take it and look at it and just say, this may be what it is, but I'm going to step up, and I'm just going to be more appreciative of what I do have. And so I often say that gratitude takes what isn't and turns it into what is. And so, I may not have this, but I have this. Yeah. So, anyway.
No, I love it. I love it so much. And we have packed in so much into this time. And I'm so grateful and appreciative that
Yes.
you set time aside today to talk to us about your story and share some of these really amazing tips. It's really been wonderful for me. And I hope that everybody watching was able to get something out of it. Feel free to comment what your favorite idea was if you have some new ideas after our conversation today. So we are going to wrap for today. If you haven't already, but just make sure to follow Curricula Concepts on Facebook and Instagram so you don't miss another Wellbeing Wednesday or any other announcements and posts that we have. We do share a lot of resources on there as well. If you like today's show, please feel free to share it with your friends and family and coworkers. And if you're a child care provider and want to learn more about enrolling in Be Well Care Well, click the link in the comments down below. And that will take you to the application, and also my contact information is down there as well. So this has been another Wellbeing Wednesday. I'm your host, Susanna Creek, wishing you all well for the rest of this week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.